Stop reacting. Stop the automatic self-sabotage. Every time you feel that pulse of anger, fear, or insecurity, you lose. You lose control, you lose power, and you hand your future to the whims of the moment. This audiobook is not about managing your emotions, it is about ending their tyranny. The one single skill separating the masters from the masses is the cold pause. It is the ironclad technique to pause your emotional autopilot and make calculated decisions under pressure. For the next hour, we will build that pause. We will forge your inner silence. You will learn to stop reacting and start deciding. Are you ready to reclaim your life? Let's begin. Chapter 1: The Cold Pause, Your Weapon of Immediate Control. This is where the training begins. This is the foundation of your new self. Stop living on autopilot. Stop letting the world push your buttons. You think you are a free agent, but you are a slave to the moment. A fleeting comment, an unexpected bill, a rude driver, they trigger an instantaneous emotional reaction. And that reaction controls your life. It controls your career. It controls your peace. We are going to change that right now. The single most destructive force in your life is not a major failure. It is the constant subtle sabotage of a 5-second emotional reaction. You lash out. You snap back. You send that angry email. You commit to a feeling before you commit to a thought. You think it is momentary. You think it is just frustration. You are wrong. This is what we call the reaction tax. The reaction tax is paid in years, not seconds. Understand this core truth: the reaction tax is paid in years, not seconds. That 5-second snap of anger costs you weeks of repair work. It costs you a promotion that was already within reach. It costs you the trust of the person you love. You pay that tax over and over every single day, and you wonder why your life is not progressing. This is the hidden catastrophic cost of living without emotional control. You react and you lose influence. You react and you lose respect. You react and you lose the future you were working toward. You have a choice. That is the key. You have a choice in that moment. But you are conditioned to believe the emotion is the only thing real. You don't need their permission to control yourself. You don't need a perfect day. You need a simple, reliable mechanism to break the circuit. It is not about suppressing your emotions, it is about redirecting the energy. It is not about a personal flaw, it is about discipline. The goal is not to eliminate feeling. The goal is to eliminate reaction. The goal is to install the cold pause. The 5-second firewall. The cold pause is your weapon. It is your ultimate shield. It is a forced immediate 5-second physical and mental stop when you are triggered. It is a firewall between the stimulus and your response. You need a physical anchor for this. Your mind is currently hijacked by your instincts. We need a physical act to hijack your mind back. Here are your instructions. Practice this now. When you feel the surge, that telltale spike of irritation, anxiety, or defense, you will execute this move. Clench your fist tightly for 5 full seconds. This simple physical tension breaks the mental loop. It pulls your focus from the external trigger and forces it into your body. Count it in your mind: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't analyze the anger. Don't engage with the person who insulted you. Don't scroll to find the next distraction. Just feel the tension in your hand and count. That is all you need to do. You buy yourself time. That is the key. The feeling will still be there. But now it is a separate entity. You are observing it. You are not becoming it. You have a choice. You can let the impulse drive you into another payment of the reaction tax, or you can use your 5-second firewall to claim your sovereignty. This is the power of mental toughness. It is the moment-to-moment decision to choose discipline over comfort. The decisive shift. Now let's talk about the transformation. What happens after the cold pause? The moment of reaction is now a decision point. You have bought yourself time. You have gained clarity. You have mastered your inner silence. Think about a common scenario. Your boss critiques your work harshly in a meeting. Your internal voice screams defensiveness. You want to lash out. You want to justify. Old self, you react instantly, arguing the point, making excuses, and damaging your professional credibility. The reaction tax is paid. New self, cold pause protocol. The anger surges. You clench your fist and count to 5. You take a breath. The silence is deafening. Now you ask yourself one question: what is the most calculated decision I can make right now to achieve my desired outcome? The decision is not to argue. The decision is to calmly say, I appreciate the frank feedback. I'll make the necessary adjustments and deliver the revised work by end of day. The decisive shift is complete. You moved from emotional child to disciplined adult. Think about traffic. An angry driver cuts you off. Old self horn blares. Insults fly. Your heart rate spikes. You pay the reaction tax in stress hormones and lost focus. New self, you clench your fist. 5 seconds pass. You realize the choice is between two outcomes: A, get angry and raise your blood pressure, or B, let it go and focus on your drive. You choose B. You stop reacting. You start deciding. This principle is ironclad. You are not what you feel, you are what you do next. The feeling is just data. The action is the consequence. When you install the cold pause, you control the consequence. You don't need permission to be calm. It is not about eliminating the surge, it is about controlling the signal. This is the beginning of your emotional control. It is the first step toward genuine power. You have mastered your first instinct. You have claimed your first 5 seconds. But that is just the beginning of what is possible for you. I know you want to close the gap between who you are and who you know you can be. That gap closes one intentional 5-second choice at a time. The cold pause is the doorway to your most powerful future. Walk through it. Chapter 2 is about clearing out the excuses and accepting total responsibility for your state. Chapter 2, eliminate the word can't from your emotional vocabulary. We ended the last chapter with the cold pause. You now have the mechanism to stop the reaction. But a mechanism is useless if your core belief system is faulty. Most people believe their feelings are immutable facts. They believe their emotional state is something that happens to them, not something they choose. They are victims. They hide behind 2 simple words: I can't. We are going to burn those words out of your vocabulary forever. The victim's script. Listen to your inner dialogue. Listen to the scripts you play for yourself and for others. I can't help it. I'm just an anxious person. I can't stop checking my phone. That's just how I cope. I can't be disciplined. I always revert to my old habits. These are not statements of fact. These are the victim's script. They are comfort blankets disguised as diagnosis. They are forms of learned emotional helplessness. You use these phrases to abdicate responsibility for your emotional control. You don't need a therapist to tell you that you're struggling. You need a coach to tell you to stop using feelings as excuses for a lack of discipline. Every time you say I can't help it, you are actively reinforcing the belief that an external force is dictating your actions. You are choosing weakness. You are paying the reaction tax again, but this time the currency is your future potential. Your feelings are powerful. That is true. But they are not your master. You are the operator of your life. You have a choice. That is the key. This chapter is the hard pivot. It is the moment you take back the steering wheel. It is not about your flaw, it is about your discipline. You don't need permission to own your actions. The ownership principle. Emotional control is not a talent. It is a muscle. And like any muscle, it requires consistent work to grow. The ownership principle is simple: everything that occurs within your mental landscape is your ultimate exclusive responsibility. Not your mother's fault. Not the government's fault. Not the bad morning traffic's fault. Your reaction. Your response. Your control. To build this muscle, you must start small. You must secure small immediate victories. Forget the massive goal of being totally calm for a month. That is overwhelming. Let's focus on one victory today. The 10-minute phone challenge. Your phone is the epicenter of external control. It screams for your attention. For the next 10 minutes, do not touch it. Place it face down. Do not check a notification. Do not look at the clock. Do not look at it. When the urge comes, and it will come, that twitch, that anxiety, that is your muscle trying to grow. Recognize the urge. Use your cold pause from chapter 1. And let the 10 minutes elapse. When you succeed, you have secured a victory. You have directly proved to your subconscious mind that you are the primary controller. You don't need permission to resist the dopamine hit of a notification. That is the key. A small victory like this reinforces your belief that emotional control is a skill you possess, not a blessing you were denied. This builds mental toughness. It is not about your flaw, the phone addiction, it is about your discipline, the 10 minutes of silence. You have a choice. Make the right choice even if it is small. The power of redefinition. We must stop fighting our emotions and start utilizing them. Every intense emotion you experience is simply high-octane energy fuel that can be redefined and repurposed. This is the power of redefinition. This is how masters turn weaknesses into weapons. Take anxiety. Most people treat anxiety like a crippling enemy. They seek to soothe it, suppress it, or escape it. This is a mistake. Anxiety is simply compressed, undirected energy. It is an alarm bell. We redefine it. Anxious energy is not fear, it is focused attention. When you feel anxiety building before a presentation or a difficult conversation, stop saying "I'm scared." Start saying "My body is giving me extra energy and focus for the task ahead. I will channel this focused attention into preparation and execution." You have now converted a paralyzing fear into rocket fuel. Take anger. Anger is often seen as a destructive force. In its raw form it is. But anger is a signpost. It tells you where a boundary has been crossed or a value has been violated. We redefine it. Anger is not a reaction, it is a call for boundaries. The next time you feel that surge of anger, don't unleash it. Use your cold pause. Then redefine it. Ask yourself, what boundary was just crossed? How do I clearly and calmly reinforce it? Anger becomes a tool for constructive self-defense, not reckless attack. You don't need permission to rename your emotions. That is the key. You have a choice. You can let anxiety paralyze you, or you can redefine it as power. You can let anger destroy your relationships, or you can redefine it as an instruction for setting firmer limits. It is not about your flaw, the emotion itself, it is about your discipline, the way you define and channel it. This is how you master your inner silence. You stop being a slave to the feeling and become the master of its meaning. You have armed yourself with the pause. You have reclaimed your vocabulary of control. You have embraced the ownership principle. My friend, this is the core of true self-mastery. You are not waiting for life to get easier, you are training yourself to be stronger. The cold pause and the power of redefinition are the two best tools you will ever own. Keep using them, because your potential is waiting for you to show up as the disciplined adult you were meant to be. We must secure the battlefield before the war even begins. Chapter 3: Quit Seeking Validation, the Power of Quiet, Invisible Discipline. You have learned to pause. You have reclaimed your vocabulary. But a fortress with open gates is still vulnerable. The greatest external threat to your emotional control is the constant, desperate need for applause. You crave the affirmation of others. You want them to acknowledge your effort, approve your journey, and celebrate your results. This need for external praise is a virus. It slowly transfers the control of your inner state from you to the crowd. You surrender your sovereignty. You become a performance artist in your own life. We must stop this immediately. We must understand the price you pay. The external governor. When you live for external approval, you install what I call the external governor. This governor dictates your mood. If they praise your post, you feel elevated. If they criticize your decision, you feel devastated. Your entire emotional state oscillates wildly based on the fickle, unpredictable opinions of people who barely know you. This creates a constant state of internal anxiety and reaction. You are always watching, always waiting, always adjusting your course to fit their expectations. You lose the ability to trust your own gut because you are terrified of being judged. This is the ultimate betrayal of your mental toughness. You hand the power to strangers. And here is the crushing reality: you must accept your validation is a debt you never finish paying. Think about it. The person who praised you today will forget you tomorrow. The new goal you achieve will only warrant a temporary nod before the crowd demands to know what's next. You can never earn enough approval to feel permanently secure. It is a bottomless, empty pit. You have a choice. You can keep running on the treadmill of applause, or you can step off and start running your own race. It is not about your flaw, it is about your discipline, choosing internal authority over external validation. You don't need permission to be proud of your own work. The approval loop. Seeking validation is not just unfulfilling, it is intensely addictive. I call this the approval loop. It operates exactly like a broken slot machine. You put in effort, the coin. You post the highlight, you share the massive goal, the lever pull. You get a brief, intense hit of dopamine when the likes pour in, the tiny, fleeting win. But then the feeling vanishes. The machine resets. And you immediately reach for another coin. This is why people chase louder results. They chase public metrics. They prioritize optics over actual substance. The work you do in secret, the focused, deep labor that doesn't pay the dopamine tax. So you neglect it. The approval loop is a massive drain on your mental toughness for 3 reasons. It wastes energy. You spend hours crafting the perfect public image instead of building the perfect product. Energy is a finite resource. It creates resentment when you work hard and don't get the desired recognition. You feel cheated and bitter. The anger is a reaction to your own unmet, unhealthy expectations. It distorts value. You start doing things that look good to others instead of things that are genuinely good for you. You confuse external praise with intrinsic worth. You must break the lever. You must walk away from the machine. That is the key. The only person who needs to validate your effort is the one staring back at you in the mirror. You have a choice. You can live for the noise or you can commit to the silence. The authority of quiet. The counter-strategy to the approval loop is quiet discipline. Quiet discipline is the commitment to working, growing, and winning in the shadows. It is the recognition that the most valuable effort is the effort that compounds over time unseen by others. True respect is earned by consistent silent action that requires no outside commentary. When you operate with quiet discipline, you eliminate the emotional volatility of judgment. If no one knows what you're working on, no one can criticize it. You free yourself from the tyranny of opinion and gain the peace required for deep, focused work. This is the path to developing the authority of quiet. Imagine the difference. The validation seeker announces a new workout routine on Monday, feels great from the comments, skips the gym on Wednesday because no one is watching. The quiet disciplinarian never mentions the gym. Hits the workout at 5 a.m. every day for 90 days. The only witness is the result in the mirror. The disciplined person is always winning because their success is guaranteed by their method, not reliant on a fragile audience. Your behavioral instruction is a simple exercise, the invisible project. Start a project today, a skill, a routine, a complex task, and make the commitment that you will tell no one about it for 30 days. No posts. No hints. No subtle bragging. Do the work entirely for yourself. When the urge to share comes, use your cold pause. Then redirect that energy back into the work itself. That is the key. You will find that the work done without the expectation of applause is the most pure, powerful, and transformative work you have ever done. It is not about your flaw, your natural social instinct. It is about your discipline, the intentional choice of silence over noise. You don't need permission to build a masterpiece in private. You have stopped paying the tax of reaction, and you have stopped feeding the addiction of validation. You have claimed your inner silence. For you, the biggest win is the one that no one else sees. The courage to build your legacy in the quiet space away from the noise is the mark of a true leader. Trust your method. Trust the silence. You have everything you need. Now we must fortify your mind against the relentless assault of modern distraction. Chapter 4: Kill the myth of instant results and embrace the grind. You have established your inner boundary. You have muted the crowd and claimed your silence. Now you face the most insidious enemy of all, impatience. The world sells you a lie, the lie of instant transformation. They promise overnight success, six-pack abs in 6 days, and guaranteed passive income by next Tuesday. This fantasy is a cancer to your quiet discipline. It teaches you to expect immediate reward for every effort. When the reward doesn't arrive instantly, you feel cheated. You feel like a failure. You quit. We must kill this myth. We must accept a new fundamental truth: success is not instant, but discipline must be. You need to love the process more than the outcome. You need to value the grind over the glory. This chapter is your initiation into the quiet, powerful army of those who understand the law of cumulative effort. The dopamine trap. Modern life is engineered to pull you into the dopamine trap. Every notification, every endless scroll, every instant delivery is a hit of easy reward. Your brain is conditioned to expect the payoff now. When you sit down to do the real work, the difficult, sustained, focused work, it doesn't reward you. Not immediately. Writing 500 words doesn't give you a surge. Learning a new language for 20 minutes doesn't earn you a public trophy. Because the reward is delayed, the work feels like a failure. It feels pointless. Your mind screams, "This is too slow, this isn't working." Go check your phone. This is your emotional control being challenged by manufactured impatience. This immediate gratification impulse is why most people abandon their goals between week 2 and week 5. They mistake discipline for a quick fix. They look for the flaw in the system instead of recognizing the discipline they lack. You don't need permission to slow down. That is the key. You have a choice. You can stay hooked on the immediate, fleeting reward, or you can commit to the delayed, massive return. The daily monotony test. If you cannot find peace in repetition, you will never find success. Success is the sum of countless repetitions, all of them slightly boring. This is the daily monotony test. This test is the true measure of your mental toughness. Ask yourself, can you do the same necessary, unglamorous thing every single day, even when no one is watching and you receive zero applause? Can you write that single page even if it feels sloppy? Can you stick to the budget even when the purchase is tempting? Can you perform the difficult exercise even if your muscles ache? The power is not in the size of the action. The power is in the consistency of the action. The daily monotony test forces you to find your satisfaction internally. It forces you to rely on your quiet discipline, not on external hype. You have to learn to love the simple act of showing up and putting in the time. Your behavioral instruction here is to embrace one utterly boring, non-glamorous task in your life and commit to it daily for 30 days. It could be tracking your expenses. It could be a 15-minute organization routine. When the mind screams, "This is boring," you use your cold pause from Chapter 1. And you tell yourself, "This repetition is building my mental fortress." It is not about your flaw, your natural desire for excitement. It is about your discipline, the intentional choice of consistent, unexciting action. The compounding effect of 1%. We are not looking for a home run. We are looking for compounding interest. The mathematical certainty of small daily improvements is the secret of all high achievers. It is the law of the universe that guarantees your success provided you obey the rules. Imagine getting just 1% better every day. After 1 year, 365 days, you are not 365% better. You are 37 times better. This is the compounding effect of 1%. This is exponential growth through quiet discipline. Now imagine getting 1% worse every day. You make a tiny mistake. You skip a small workout. You eat the one extra treat. After a year, you regress to almost zero. You fall into mediocrity. The margin between these two outcomes is tiny. The decision you make today. Your relentless focus must be on executing the small discipline that leads to that 1% gain. Forget the final goal. Focus only on the step in front of you. Did you make the call? That is the 1%. Did you review the numbers? That is the 1%. Did you keep your mouth shut instead of reacting? That is the 1%. Your repetitive focus must be this mantra: do the 1% today that everyone else ignores. Everyone wants the finished mansion, but they hate laying the foundation one brick at a time. The masters love the foundation. The masters love the solitude. They understand that every single unglamorous brick is a down payment on their future. You don't need permission to commit to the long game. That is the key. The slow, deliberate effort is the most powerful weapon you possess, because almost no one else has the mental toughness to sustain it. For you, the temptation of the quick fix will be massive, but I know you are better than that. Remember this: the only shortcut to a massive result is the daily commitment to the boring work. Embrace the daily grind and your success is guaranteed. The slow way is the fastest way. We have fortified your resolve. We have taught you to value the invisible work. Now we must protect your energy from the relentless external noise. Chapter 5. Why your mind must become a fortress, not a playground. You have claimed your power over reaction. You have committed to the grind of quiet discipline. Now we must talk about defense. Your mind is your most valuable asset. It is the command center for every action, every decision, and every victory you will ever achieve. Yet most people treat their mind like an open-air marketplace, a chaotic playground where any vendor can set up shop and yell for attention. You let everything in. You let the world invade your focus, hijack your thoughts, and steal your peace. This stops now. Your mind is not a playground for chaos. Your mind must become a fortress. A fortress does not allow random hostile elements to enter its walls. It has a guard. It has a filter. And you must install yours. The objective is total emotional control through ruthless filtration of incoming data. The invasion protocol. The modern world is constantly sending out mental invaders designed to deplete your energy and undermine your mental toughness. We must identify them by name. The most common invaders are comparison, the endless scroll that forces you to measure your internal reality against someone else's external highlight reel. It immediately triggers self-doubt and anxiety. Media noise, the 24-hour news cycle engineered for panic and outrage. It trains your brain to expect catastrophe and keeps you in a perpetual state of reaction. Past regrets, the looping soundtrack of mistakes you cannot change. This energy is wasted on a door that is already closed. These invaders steal your focus. They trigger anxiety. They make the daily boring work of quiet discipline feel impossible. They cost you days of productivity. They drain your reserves. Your clear, non-negotiable command is this: guard your gate. Filter your input. This is not optional. If you allow toxic input, you will generate toxic output. You have a choice. You can let the world use your mind as its dumping ground, or you can control what gets through the perimeter. It is not about your flaw, your natural curiosity. It is about your discipline, the intentional blocking of anything that does not serve your purpose. You don't need permission to close the door. The boundary exercise. Building a fortress requires physical boundaries. Your boundary exercise is about creating digital and physical filters that immediately eliminate the most destructive inputs. 1. The 30-minute news block. You do not need to consume endless commentary. You need information, not intoxication. Institute a strict rule. You may check the news for a maximum of 30 minutes per day and only via a neutral text-based summary. No video. No alarmist headlines. That is it. Cut the cord. 2. The immediate deletion of comparison apps. If an application's primary function is to show you the curated exceptional lives of others, it is a liability. It is a source of unnecessary envy and distraction. Delete it now. You can't control the urge to look if the temptation is always one tap away. Eliminate the temptation entirely. 3. The no-input zone. Designate 1 hour in your day, preferably the first 30 minutes or the last 30 minutes as a no-input zone. No phone. No computer. No reading. No music with lyrics. This is for pure unfiltered thinking, planning, or meditation. This hour is sacred. It rebuilds your inner silence. The fear you feel when doing this is a sign of your addiction. Your anxiety about missing out is proof that the external governor still has power. Use your cold pause to push through that fear. That is the key. The peace you gain from filtering your input is worth more than every trend or headline you might miss. The internal security check. A fortress needs active patrols, not just high walls. You must perform a daily internal security check. This is an act of active defense, not passive reaction. Every single evening before you sleep, spend 5 minutes asking yourself these 3 direct questions. Question 1. What was the primary source of my mental or emotional drain in the last 24 hours? Identify the trigger. Was it an argument? Was it scrolling late at night? Was it worrying about a debt? Get specific. Question 2. Did I respond to that drain using the cold pause, or did I pay the reaction tax? Hold yourself accountable. Did you choose discipline or comfort? Did you choose silence or noise? There is no judgment, only data. Question 3. What is the single tangible boundary I will erect tomorrow to prevent this invasion from happening again? This is the action step. If the drain was a rude coworker, the boundary is deciding not to engage in idle chatter. If the drain was late-night comparison, the boundary is charging your phone in another room. This simple 5-minute audit forces you to be constantly vigilant. You are actively identifying the weaknesses in your walls and reinforcing them daily. This is how you cultivate genuine permanent mental toughness. You don't need permission to protect your energy. That is the key. My friend, remember this: your attention is your currency. Every time you look away from your purpose to chase the latest distraction, you are losing power. You have the discipline now. Use these boundaries to protect the quiet space you have fought for. The work you do in that silence will change everything. Now we must deal with the most seductive internal force that destroys quiet discipline: drama. Chapter 6. The uncomfortable truth. You are addicted to drama. You have secured your fortress. The external invaders have been repelled. Now look inside. The deepest threat to quiet discipline often comes from within. It is the insidious self-sabotaging habit of creating your own chaos. We must confront an uncomfortable truth. You are addicted to drama. You don't think you are. You complain about stress and turmoil. You claim you want peace. But deep down you mistake high emotional intensity for living. You confuse turmoil with purpose. This addiction is toxic. It guarantees that you will constantly pay the reaction tax. It destroys your ability to master your inner silence. You cannot build a disciplined life when you are constantly chasing the next emotional rush. The excitement hook. Why do we cling to the chaos? It is simple psychology. Drama is stimulating. For many, life without constant emotional peaks and valleys feels empty. They mistake the dull ache of anxiety or the fiery rush of anger for passion or purpose. It gives them something to talk about. It gives them an identity: the perpetually stressed, the misunderstood warrior, the chronic victim. This is the excitement hook. You subconsciously create or amplify emotional drama because it gives you a sense of being alive, a feeling of urgency, and a quick hit of attention. You revisit an old argument in your head, stirring up anger. You amplify a small mistake into a catastrophic failure. You engage in gossip, creating unnecessary conflict and tension. This is all self-inflicted noise. It is an easy, cheap substitute for the difficult, quiet satisfaction of building something real. It is not about your flaw, the human need for excitement. It is about your discipline, the intentional choice to reject unnecessary stimulation. You have a choice. You can be the protagonist in a chaotic soap opera, or you can be the disciplined architect of your life. The power of the flat line. The masters understand a radical concept: peace is not boring, it is the ultimate advantage. The average person seeks volatility. The disciplined person seeks stability. I introduce to you the power of the flat line. This is the state of maintaining a level-controlled internal temperature, regardless of the heat outside. When everyone else is panicking, you are simply assessing. When they are yelling, you are listening. The master always keeps their internal temperature steady. Think of a pilot in a storm. They do not join the chaos. Their training demands they maintain a steady emotional and mental flatline. They process the data, follow the checklist, and execute the protocol. That flatline is what saves the aircraft. Your life is your aircraft. Volatility is the threat. Your job is to reject the thrill of the struggle and commit to the efficiency of the calm. This requires mental toughness. When a situation escalates, your instinct is to match the energy. The disciplined choice is to absorb the energy and respond with a lower frequency. Your behavioral instruction is to actively de-escalate your tone and pace in every conversation this week. If the other party speeds up, you slow down. If they raise their voice, you lower yours. You will feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is the withdrawal from the excitement hook. Lean into it. You don't need permission to stay calm. That is the key. The flatline is not apathy. It is active indifference to the noise, allowing for total engagement with the solution. Disarm the fire. Drama is a two-way street. You cannot eliminate other people's chaos, but you can refuse to be the destination for it. You must learn to disarm the fire by refusing to pour fuel on it. When someone approaches you with gossip, rage, or high-stakes emotional turbulence, your goal is to immediately close your emotional door and redirect the conversation to actionable solutions. You need a simple, consistent verbal formula. Use your cold pause first. Take a breath. Then deploy one of these formulas delivered in your lowest, flattest tone. I appreciate your sharing that, but I need to focus on solutions. Let's stick to the facts we can control. That sounds difficult. What is the immediate next step you are taking? Do not engage the narrative. Do not offer sympathy for the drama. Immediately move the discussion to discipline and action. You are training the people around you that you are a resource for solutions, not a garbage dump for complaints. You will find that the chronic complainers will stop seeking you out. They want an accomplice in their drama, not an advocate for their responsibility. You are choosing to be the advocate. It is not about your flaw, the desire to empathize. It is about your discipline, the intentional redirection of energy from feeling to fixing. You have a choice. You can be drawn into the fire, or you can be the calming presence that redirects the energy. My friend, this is the greatest test of your training. The discipline to reject the easy thrill of drama is what separates the noisemakers from the noisemasters. You are a master now. You have chosen the silent, steady power of the flatline. Keep your temperature level, and you will always win. Now that you have mastered your reactions, we must solidify your foundation. You must accept total, absolute responsibility for every outcome in your life. Chapter 7. The Unbreakable Rule of Accountability. There are no bad days. You have secured your silence. You have repelled the invader. You have disarmed the drama. Now we come to the most important and often the most painful realization for the disciplined mind: absolute accountability. You must erase the mental loophole that allows you to fail without consequence. You must kill the myth that your performance is subject to external conditions. We must establish the unbreakable rule of accountability. It is simple, direct, and non-negotiable. There are no bad days. Your life is a direct reflection of your choices. Your effort is not subject to your mood. Your results are not subject to the weather. Everything you achieve or fail to achieve is on you. This is the ultimate expression of mental toughness. The blame loophole. The average person has 1,000 excuses ready before the challenge even begins. I had a bad day. My energy was off. The traffic ruined my focus. I just wasn't feeling motivated. These are all variations of the blame loophole. It is the mental trick of blaming external factors or subjective feelings to excuse a failure in quiet discipline or emotional control. It is the ultimate payment of the reaction tax because you sacrifice personal power for temporary comfort. Think about what you are doing when you use this loophole. You are actively training your mind to seek excuses, not solutions. You are conditioning yourself to believe that fate, weather, or an external enemy has more power over your life than you do. You are choosing to be a victim. I offer you a forceful correction. Tattoo this on your consciousness: there are no bad days, only weak choices. When you choose to skip the workout because it's raining, that is a weak choice. When you choose to lash out because you're stressed, that is a weak choice. The rain is merely an opportunity to demonstrate superior discipline. The stress is merely an opportunity to use your cold pause. It is not about your flaw, your natural tiredness. It is about your discipline, the intentional refusal to let circumstances dictate your effort. You have a choice. Stop waiting for the stars to align. Start acting. The hard metric. You must stop measuring your effort by how you feel and start measuring it by what you produce. Feelings are subjective, volatile, and unreliable. Output is objective, solid, and undeniable. This is the hard metric. When you evaluate your day, I forbid you from discussing your mood. The only question you are allowed to ask is this: did the work get done, yes or no? Did you make the necessary calls, yes or no? Did you write the required pages, yes or no? Did you maintain your boundaries and not react, yes or no? We must eliminate the subjective narrative of mood. The story about how hard it was or how unmotivated you felt is irrelevant noise. It is just more drama. The disciplined mind operates on a protocol. The protocol is the output. That is the key. If your protocol says 2 hours of focused work, 2 hours of focused work is the only acceptable outcome. The feeling of resistance you experience during that time is merely a measurement of the resistance you overcame, a sign of your mental toughness. Your behavioral instruction for the next week: keep a log of only your output. On a scale of 1 to 10, rate your mood every morning. Then at the end of the day, compare your mood rating to your output. You will quickly see that a low mood is perfectly capable of producing high output. The connection you assumed was ironclad is nothing more than an emotional superstition. You don't need permission to be productive when you're tired. You don't need a surge of motivation. You need quiet discipline. The work is the only metric that matters. The immediate rebound. Failure is inevitable. Mistakes will be made. The difference between the master and the novice is not the lack of mistakes but the speed of the recovery. We institute here a strict no morning policy for mistakes. When you fail a task, lapse on a diet, or break a discipline, you have a natural impulse to spiral into self-pity or self-flagellation. This is wasted time. This is paying the reaction tax again. Your new rule has 2 parts. The entire process must take less than 60 seconds. Part 1: acknowledge and analyze 30 seconds. Immediately use your cold pause. Then quickly identify the exact point of failure. Don't judge the failure, just locate the technical error. I failed because I started the task before outlining the steps. Not I failed because I'm a procrastinator. Part 2: return to task 30 seconds. Identify the smallest immediate step to correct the error and move forward. Do not dwell. Do not re-examine your feelings. Immediately return to the task. If you ate the wrong food, the next 30 seconds are spent preparing the next correct healthy meal, not spending hours regretting the choice. If you lashed out in anger, the next 30 seconds are spent moving your body to a quiet room and using your cold pause. The lesson here is simple: momentum is more valuable than perfection. Every extra minute you spend dwelling on a mistake is a minute that costs you the compounding effect of the next positive action. It is not about your flaw, your human fallibility, it is about your discipline, the intentional choice to pivot instantly. That is the key. My friend, this is your non-negotiable standard. You are the architect of your own atmosphere. Stop giving the traffic, the weather, or your feelings veto power over your success. You have the tools now to choose discipline over comfort every single time. Live by the hard metric, and your progress will be unstoppable. Now we must attack the internal resistance, the voice of fear that keeps you paralyzed. Chapter 8: Stop analyzing, start moving, overcoming paralysis. You have accepted responsibility. You understand that your results are non-negotiable output. Yet there remains one final layer of internal resistance that stops disciplined action: paralysis. This is not a failure of motivation. It is a failure of execution. You know what you need to do, but you cannot physically make yourself start. You get trapped in an endless cycle of research, planning, and mental preparation. This is self-sabotage disguised as diligence. This chapter is your escape route. Your goal is to eliminate the delay between thought and action. You must learn to stop analyzing, start moving. The trap of overthinking. Let's call overthinking what it truly is: fear wearing a suit. When you endlessly research the perfect strategy, the perfect diet, or the perfect time to launch, you are not preparing. You are procrastinating. You are using the pretense of intellectual rigor to shield yourself from the risk of failure. The trap of overthinking is a massive drain on your quiet discipline. You spend finite mental energy analyzing scenarios that may never happen. You use up your willpower inventory before the actual work even begins. Your mind tells you, I just need one more piece of data. It lies. It wants comfort. It wants certainty. But certainty is an illusion. The real world only rewards action. Your repetitive challenge is this: thought without action is a self-inflicted wound. Every brilliant idea you have, every meticulous plan you draft is meaningless until you take the first ugly, imperfect step. The paralysis is a payment of the reaction tax. You are reacting to the fear of an unknown outcome instead of deciding to move forward. You have a choice. You can stay safe in the intellectual cocoon of analysis, or you can step into the arena of action. That is the key. You don't need permission to begin imperfectly. Perfectionism is just high-level fear. It is not about your flaw being thoughtful, it is about your discipline, the intentional forcing of motion over thought. The 5-second rule personalized. We need a trigger. A reliable physical mechanism to shut down the analyzing brain and engage the moving body. We will adapt a famous rule and make it yours. The moment you identify a necessary action, whether it is making a difficult call, starting a dreaded task, or getting out of bed, you have 5 seconds to initiate physical movement toward that task. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Why 5 seconds? Because 5 seconds is the exact window of opportunity before your rational, protective, fearful mind catches up and generates a reason to stop. If you don't move in those 5 seconds, your mind will flood you with resistance. It's too early. I don't know enough. What if I fail? I'll feel better after coffee. These are excuses. These are lies. These are attempts to pay the reaction tax. Your behavioral instruction is to use a physical cue. When the necessary action appears, the dirty dishes, the blank document, the alarm clock, immediately say the countdown out loud or in your inner silence. And when you hit 1, your body must initiate the action. You don't need permission to ignore your fear. That is the key. The 5-second rule is pure mental toughness. It is the decision to override feeling with function. The feeling of resistance will still be there, but you will have already moved past the point of no return. You are in motion. You have a choice. You can let the impulse to stop paralyze you, or you can use this simple tool to force immediate compliance. Choose compliance. The smallest action principle. Often the reason for paralysis is that the task in front of you looks too big. It looks like a mountain. Your mind says, I can't write a novel, and you freeze. This is where you deploy the smallest action principle. You must surgically reduce every massive, daunting task into the absolute smallest possible physical action required to break the mental logjam. We are not looking for completion. We are looking for momentum. Task: write a business plan. Wrong action: I need to outline the entire strategy. Smallest action principle: open the laptop, open the document, type the title of the document. That is it. 3 small physical steps. Task: clean the entire cluttered garage. Wrong action: I need to organize everything. Smallest action principle: pick up 1 tool and place it in the designated box. 1 item. 1 step. This principle works because it bypasses the amygdala, the fear center of the brain, which only responds to large threats. A threat of picking up 1 sock is 0. A threat of organizing the entire house is paralyzing. Your task is to practice this reduction immediately. Whenever you feel overwhelmed by a task, use your cold pause and ask, what is the absolute stupidest, easiest, smallest thing I can do right now to move toward this goal? Then use your 5-second rule to execute that tiny step. The simple act of motion generates the dopamine and confidence needed for the next slightly larger step. It is not about your flaw being overwhelmed, it is about your discipline, the intentional reduction of complexity. That is the key. You don't need permission to succeed through tiny, relentless steps. My friend, I know your ambitions are massive. But that ambition must be served by motion, not thought. Stop waiting for clarity or perfection. The best plan is the one you start today. Use the 5-second rule to force yourself into motion, and the momentum will carry you the rest of the way. Start ugly, finish strong. Your foundation is nearly complete. Now we move to the final necessary chapter of preparation, the rituals that embed this discipline permanently into your character. Chapter 9. The Silence of the Unstoppable: How the Masters Train. You have claimed your power. You stop the reaction. You embrace accountability. You demand motion. But this new strength is fragile if it is not reinforced daily. You must stop relying on moments of inspiration and start relying on systems of execution. The disciplined life is a matter of ritual. It is a commitment to the process that occurs far away from the spotlight. This is the lesson of the silence of the unstoppable. True masters in any field do not win by spectacular public performances. They win by rigorous, repetitive, quiet discipline executed in private. We must install the rituals of the elite. We must train like the unstoppable. The invisible practice. Where does true success come from? It comes from the hours the crowd never sees. Your competitive advantage is not built during the presentation. It is built during the late-night research. It is not built on the playing field. It is built during the grueling solo workout nobody witnessed. This is the invisible practice. Most people chase the attention. They seek the public victory. The masters understand that the only victories that matter are the ones they achieve when they are completely alone. The power of the invisible practice is that it eliminates the reaction tax of public failure. If you fail in private, the only person judging you is yourself. You can correct, adjust, and relaunch without shame or distraction. This allows for rapid exponential growth. Your repetitive mantra, "must be your greatness," is built where no one is watching. Think about the early morning. That hour before the world wakes up is your most valuable currency. It is a period of pure inner silence where no one can demand your time. What are you doing with it? Are you scrolling? Are you snoozing? Or are you engaged in the difficult focused work that others ignore? That is the key. The choice to engage in the invisible practice, the choice to put in the time when no one is watching, is the ultimate proof of your mental toughness. You don't need permission to work in secret. It is not about your flaw wishing for more hours, it is about your discipline, the intentional seizure of quiet, unseen time. You have a choice. Stop performing for the gallery and start building your foundation in the solitude. The discipline transfer. Many people believe discipline is compartmentalized. They think they can be a disciplined athlete, but a chaotic finance manager. They think they can be a focused worker, but a disorganized parent. This is a lie. Discipline is a universal skill. It is a single internal muscle. This is the discipline transfer principle. Quiet discipline in one area inevitably transfers mental toughness to every other area of your life. Your brain does not differentiate between the discipline required to make your bed every morning and the discipline required to resist a hostile emotional reaction from your competitor. It only recognizes the muscle being used, willpower. When you adhere to a small, seemingly meaningless routine, you are sending a powerful signal to your subconscious: I do what I say I will do regardless of how I feel. The discipline to track every dollar you spend transfers to the mental toughness needed to delay gratification on a large purchase. The discipline to clean your workspace every night transfers to the emotional control needed to stop internal clutter and eliminate the trap of overthinking. Your behavioral instruction is to identify one area of small domestic chaos and introduce quiet discipline there immediately. Your socks. Your kitchen counter. Your email inbox. Conquer that small corner of chaos. That tiny victory acts as a bridge. It proves to you that the ability to impose order exists inside you. That is the key. You will find that when you master the small things, the big things no longer seem overwhelming. The smallest action principle now applies to your entire character. The non-negotiable contract. To eliminate the excuses of fatigue, mood, or circumstance, you must sign a non-negotiable contract with yourself. This is a promise of action that you refuse to break. No matter what happens, sickness, celebration, disaster, these actions must be completed. They are your anchor. They are the fixed points of your universe. Your task is to identify 1 to 3 non-negotiable daily tasks. They should be actions that move your life forward, but are small enough to execute even on your worst day. Examples of non-negotiable tasks. Physical: 10 minutes of intense physical activity, burpees, running, stairs, jump rope. Not an hour. Just 10 minutes. Mental: write 1 full paragraph, not a page, just a paragraph on your most important project. Financial: review your finances and track all spending from the previous day. When you feel ill, when you are stressed, when you think you'll skip today, you use your cold pause. Then you remind yourself, this is not about the result. This is about honoring the contract. Breaking the contract, even once, opens the blame loophole again. Honoring it, even imperfectly, reinforces your identity as an unstoppable, disciplined person. You don't need permission to be relentless. That is the key. The power of a master is not found in strength, but in consistency. Consistency is the direct result of an honored contract. It is not about your flaw, your human weakness, it is about your discipline, the intentional, ceremonial honoring of your daily promise. My friend, you are no longer playing games with your potential. You have established a system where failure is simply not an option because your commitment is to the contract, not the convenience. This commitment to the invisible practice is why you will succeed where others quit. Be relentless in the quiet hours. That is your final advantage. Now we must prepare for the moment when everything you have learned is tested. Your past self is waiting to ambush you. Chapter 10: Your final exam, the test of fire. We have reached the end of the formal training. You have built the fortress. You have signed the non-negotiable contract. You operate on quiet discipline. Now you must be prepared for the test. Because your journey is not a straight line of constant progress. It is a war of attrition. And your enemy is patient. You will face moments: extreme pressure, shocking failure, deep exhaustion, where everything you learned will feel impossible to execute. In these moments you will not be challenged by a new enemy. You will be ambushed by an old one. The inevitable attack. Your past self is not dead. It is dormant. It is a shadow waiting for your guard to drop. This is the inevitable attack. It happens when you are most vulnerable. A major client walks away. A loved one betrays you. You lose a year's worth of progress in one afternoon. The pressure is suffocating. In that instant, your old emotional patterns, the desire to lash out, the urge to collapse into victimhood, the need to pay the reaction tax, will return with ferocious power. They will whisper, you can't help it. This one time doesn't count. Just quit. This is the ultimate test of your mental toughness. This is the test of fire. Your warning is clear: your past self is waiting to ambush you. You must expect this moment. You must anticipate the relapse. If you treat it as an unexpected disaster, you will crumble. If you treat it as a predicted phase of the training, you will execute your protocol. It is not about your flaw, the human tendency to revert. It is about your discipline, the preparation to stick to the protocol when the pressure is highest. You have a choice. You can let the ambush define you, or you can let your response define your transformation. You don't need permission to fail, but you also don't need permission to win immediately after a failure. The ironclad checklist. When the fire hits, you do not have time for analysis. You do not have time for philosophy. You need a quick ironclad checklist, 3 non-negotiable steps to execute in sequence. Commit this list to your core memory. This is your survival protocol. Step 1: the cold pause, 5 seconds. Your body is screaming for a reaction. Stop it. Force the silence. Clench your fist. Count it down: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Break the circuit. This is the only physical action you're allowed to take. This buys you precious seconds of emotional control. Step 2: the identity check. Who am I deciding to be right now? In that brief silence, you ask this single profound question. Do not ask, how do I feel? Do not ask, why did this happen? Ask, who am I deciding to be right now? The disciplined person, the master of my inner silence, or the victim who pays the reaction tax? The answer is your decision. That is the key. You force yourself to choose your identity before you choose your action. Step 3: the smallest action. Do the one thing that moves me forward. Immediately return to the lesson of Chapter 8. Forget the magnitude of the disaster. Forget the size of the repair job. Identify the smallest, most achievable physical action that moves you 1 millimeter forward. Did a client leave? The smallest action is opening the email to the next prospect. Did you lapse on your diet? The smallest action is drinking a large glass of water and preparing the correct next meal. The goal is not to fix everything. The goal is to regain momentum. The goal is to obey your non-negotiable contract. This 3-point checklist is your life raft. It is the purest expression of the decisive shift. It takes the chaos of the moment and forces it back into the organized structure of your quiet discipline. The permanent transformation. You have gone through the entire process. You have learned to filter your input, to eliminate drama, and to embrace the monotony of the grind. The core lesson of this entire program, Master Your Inner Silence, is not about achieving some perfected emotionless state. It is about distance. It is about the gap. Mastering inner silence is not about perfection, but about increasing the gap between stimulus and response until the response is always a deliberate decision. Before this training, the gap was 0. The stimulus and the response were 1. You were a walking reflex. Now you have built that gap. You have inserted the cold pause. You have inserted the identity check. Every time you use the checklist, that gap widens. Every time you choose quiet discipline over emotional noise, that gap becomes permanent. This is the definition of permanent transformation. Your reaction no longer controls your life. Your decisions control your life. It is not about your flaw, your human heart. It is about your discipline, the iron will to choose your next step. That is the key. You don't need permission to live a life of intentional action. The journey does not end here. The journey of discipline never ends. It is the work of a lifetime. But you are no longer starting from 0. You are starting from a fortress. You are armed with a cold pause. The only question left is, will you execute the protocol? You have the blueprint. You have the weapon. Stop waiting for permission to change. Stop waiting for life to get easy. Master Your Inner Silence starts now, the second this audio ends. I gave you the cold pause. Use it. I gave you quiet discipline. Embrace it. I showed you that the reaction tax is paid in years, not seconds. Stop paying it. Your life is not an accident, it is the sum total of your decisions. You cannot control the market, the people around you, or the past. But you can and must control the 5 inches between your ears. No more excuses. No more complaining. The training is over. The moment to choose is here. Do not hit replay until you have executed one single command from this program. Not tomorrow. Not in an hour. Right now. Go silence the noise, make your decision, and start deciding your destiny.